waiting for Kobe to arrive.
Okay.
But this time they had like roped off sides in the hallway. And so we were just waiting. And then he walks by. And I swear to God, it was like, a living God just walking by. And
Hey,
flashes everywhere.
that is crazy.
Now tuned into the greatest.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. And this time we're going all the way out to LA, but not just for the topics, for our special guest. Editor and reporter for Raiders Newswire, Los Angeles Lakers reporter, editor, and social media manager for Laker Nation, Ryan Ward. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. So glad to have you here. Man, hey, this is the best sports podcast there is. That's what we like to say here. But look, man, hey, let's get into it. I'm so excited to have you on, man. And I gotta have you punch a ticket before we get started. And to punch the ticket, that's the gateway for the episode to continue going. So the question here to get started is, I know you covered Kobe for some time, so we have to hear, what's your favorite Kobe moment out of all the years you spent covering him?
That's easy. The last game, 60-point finale was just
Beautiful.
just out of control.
Yeah.
From the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep, that was just a crazy day. Like, I remember even the days leading up to it, I kept getting all this free stuff from like companies and stuff that were promoting
Oh, wow.
like Kobe's last day. Like Body Armor sent me this cool like 6-pack of what was it called? God, it was really Blackout Berry, which is like Kobe's like flavor. They told me to look at one of the bottles, and like I had like this note, right? And one of the bottles was signed by Kobe.
Damn, that's
like,
dope.
I was like, wow. And I didn't expect anything because they'd been nice to me before. They would just send me like cases of the stuff.
Right.
And they sent me that. And I was like, wow, this is gonna be crazy week.
That is,
and
man.
then I got up that. Remember, I got up that morning and got like kind of. It's like one of those moments where you're like excited but you're sad at the same time.
Yeah, the bittersweet,
like,
man.
Can't wait to see this, but at the same time I know it's the end, so it's I'm never gonna see it again. So I remember getting there and there's all this like fanfare outside Staples Center and all these Kobe themed things, and I was like, this is insane. It just got more and more insane as the day went on. Like I go get checked in for the credentials or whatever, and Jamal Wilkes is like right in front of me, and there was just so many people, so many famous people everywhere.
Wow,
and then
man.
I'm thinking it's gonna be kind of like just a normal game in terms of how we cover it. You go down, you go in the press room, you set up, you do whatever you got to do before the game, and then you find out where you're sitting. And I knew I'd be in the boonies. It was, I think they credentialed like 250 people or some crazy number.
Really?
Credentialed members, from all over the world,
Oh, wow.
So I was like, okay, whatever. So I got credentialed. I was in the press box, but it wasn't too bad of a view. And I remember going down and waiting for Kobe to arrive. And it was crazy because normally he would just show up and there'd be like two camera guys, taking pictures of him walking in, and there's nobody else around. That's it.
This is before the game? This is like before the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
But this time they had like roped off sides in the hallway. And there was literally hundreds of media on both sides. And I remember I'm talking to the guys that I usually cover the games with, like Eric Pincus. This was I think it was Mike Duarte. And we're just like, this is insane. this is crazy. I've never seen
That is dope, man.
I don't even know what to do. And so we were just waiting, and then he walks by, and I swear to God, it was like, a living God just walking by, and flashes everywhere.
That is crazy.
This is blowing me away.
That's what they say though. I've heard that like with other stars too, that when people see them for the first time and it's like a person that someone genuinely looks up to, or just like a mega star to that particular person, it seems that way. So
the thing is, I covered him for years. I covered him for 6 years, and that was the last time. And it was so different from any other time before that. It was just it was a spectacle. And I'm like, man, you better not suck. That was a rough season because he was hurt a lot. And when he played, he didn't play much. And I mean, they were terrible.
That was the year he was on the sideline with all that ice on him. He had like 6 ice bags on his body.
All young kids.
I know.
Like Bill Russell and Julius Randle and all of them. And
that was a tough
season. We're in the press box once the game gets started. There's all this, stuff that would happen before the game too.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, all right, how much is he dropping? How much is he dropping? And I was convinced 35. I was like, 35. He's dropping 35.
Mm-hmm.
And then I even thought that was a stretch. I was like, okay, 30 is where he's going to aim.
Man.
But I think he'll get 35.
Oh.
The guy sitting next to me was Tyson Beck. He's his designer from Australia. And he's a huge Kobe guy. And I think he said like 40 or something. I was like, no way, man. He doesn't have the energy for 40. And then we're watching, and I mean, I think he missed his first like 7 shots.
He started off the game shooting bad, but he was letting it fly. I remember watching it, and he was letting it fly, but it's like, damn, he can't get one to go in. So and all of a sudden,
kept looking at each other like, oh, dude, it's gonna be a long night if this keeps up this way,
Oh yeah, and then he finally hit that first shot. And it was like, oh man, from me watching it on TV, it was crazy. So I knew it was crazy there.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, okay, thank God it went down, and then he gets to 10, and he gets to like 15, and then he gets to 20, and then 25. It's like every 5 points, we're kind of like all looking at each other like, oh, okay, he's grooving, he's
going.
And but we've all seen him drop,
those
50
numbers
multiple times, 40 multiple times. So he got the feeling of where he was gonna go, and I swear 60 was nowhere in my mind, 50 was nowhere in my mind, but it just kept going. And with every shot, we all looked at each other because there's like an unspoken well, it's not an unspoken rule, but it's everybody knows. In the press box, you don't cheer, you don't
You're
do
cool.
things that fans do.
You like kind of cool, laid back, like you've seen it before.
It's like a protocol. Like you don't do it. You're there to report, right? You're not there to be entertained and all that stuff. But nobody could help themselves. We were just like,
that's cool.
We were all cheering. It was craziest. Like I said, it's the craziest experience ever. And I remember toward that end, when we saw how exhausted Kobe was, it's like he's literally giving everything he has.
Man, gave his all, left it all out there. Yeah. It's like, man.
I mean, I'm looking at him like he's huffing and puffing like me going upstairs.
Yeah, man. That was crazy.
Exhausted, but I remember at the end they opened up because usually we go in the locker room and there's like a little press conference room on the side, and that's where he would go after every game that season because there were so many media that they had to accommodate. Well, they went into the big room where they open it up for when the NBA Finals is played.
Oh man!
So you could fit a ton of people in there, and we get in there, and he is just smiling from ear to ear, like he's just like
relieved almost. Huh?
I am done. I'm out. Like,
that is crazy.
Yeah, and it was so different. That whole season was different with him.
Man,
he just whole nother. It's like he became so content with the fact that was it. Like that was, and we all thought he was going to be a miserable bastard. We're like, oh, he's going to be so frustrated this whole year, and it was the complete opposite. I mean, it was the season
Yeah,
hey,
that's
man,
that's
like,
so crazy. I feel like he personally too found his own peace in it because I mean, if you think about it, he's been playing. That was his job since he was 18, and he's one of those guys who gave it literally his all, man. Like he gave everything to the Lakers and gave everything to like winning multiple championships, I should say. So it's like I understand it, but again, it's the bittersweet thing. You know, it's like damn,
yeah.
like you don't want to see him leave because we've been watching him for so long.
I mean, even after the game, I'm just like, you know what, you couldn't have done that any better.
Yeah.
And I remember I walked out with a buddy of mine, Bob Garcia, and we're talking about it, and then we realized that we're walking in stride with Woj, right? Like,
oh damn, that's sweet.
And I asked him, I was like, hey, what'd you think of that? And he's like, you know what? The only thing I can compare it to was Derek Jeter's last game or something like that. And I was like,
oh wow,
that's good comp. It's good comp, yeah.
Yeah,
But
personally, that was the greatest. That was the greatest exit, like for me, from what I've seen, man. I can't think of a better exit game in any sport, man. That was absolutely amazing. And I've always been a lifelong Kobe fan. I grew up watching Kobe. I grew up, watching all his moves, studying his moves, all of that stuff. So to me, I literally couldn't have thought of a better way to watch Kobe being Bryant lead the NBA. It was amazing, man. But look,
it was crazy.
We gotta get to the questions, man. That ticket, Ryan, that ticket is accepted. That ticket is accepted. You've earned your way to continue on with the show. That was a great story. I love that, man. But look, more recent times, kind of going into the recent times, Lakers, they got some moves going on. The most recent thing was Patrick Beverley. And a lot of people were saying that, okay, well, Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley, they had this tension of, beef, I guess, when they play each other in previous seasons. But I don't really think, that's going to matter because at the end of the day, they're both just competitors and they really just want to win. So how do you kind of feel about this whole Patrick Beverley thing? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the whole situation's weird, right? It's like, I would say ever since the Russell Westbrook's exit interview, it's been really strange. Like, cause he just threw everybody under the bus and took no accountability for anything. Yeah. And then we're like, okay, well, what the hell do they do now? Is he going to opt in? Is he going to opt out and like try and sign somewhere? I mean, you don't turn down, what was it, $47 million or something?
Yeah, man, he got a bag for it.
Yeah. So like, we knew he was gonna opt in, and then the tension at the summer league where LeBron and him just like didn't even acknowledge each other.
Yeah,
that was weird. And I'm like even like, just be smart, be professional, like go up and just do, but they don't, ego gets in the way, and apparently, I don't know if their friendship is damaged or whatever, but that was strange. It was really weird. Then everybody's like, oh, well, he's definitely done now.
Yeah, and then people were talking about the weird, Kyrie trade. And I know at one point in time, especially after the season, and correct me if I'm wrong, because, you cover the Lakers, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I did see a couple reports that were saying, like, right after the season, that the Lakers and Russell Westbrook were going to part ways. So when I'm doing the podcast and I'm talking about stuff, I'm like, man, I'm thinking, okay, well, Russell Westbrook's gone. If the Lakers saying he's parting ways, like this is they got to find another point guard. And I don't know if it was true, but that narrative from that point toward the end of the season to even now, the narrative has just been twisting and turning. I don't know what's going on with Russell Westbrook.
I'll say this, like out of all the years that I've covered it, and every year, the Lakers are involved in something.
Always.
No matter if they're title contender or just terrible.
Always.
They're still connected to players, But there was a lot of conflicting reports. And I think what may have happened was they were both kind of, let's part ways. And then the Lakers realized nobody wants him. Like I said even before, or when they did trade for him last year, I was like, you know what? There's a reason he's been on 4 teams in 4 years.
Yep, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
There's a reason for
And it hasn't been bad teams either. It was good teams. He played with a co-star on each and every one of those teams,
exactly.
and they did not have any success. So when I seen that, and then playing with LeBron, anybody who's ever played with LeBron has gotten better. Like from an IQ standpoint, a skill standpoint, at some type of way, they've gotten better. But with Russell Westbrook, I didn't see it. I didn't see it, and I know it's only been one season, but even through the course of the season, I just haven't seen it.
Well, he's a strange kind of superstar in the sense that he struggles when the bright lights are on, and he has to share the spotlight with others.
Yep.
Right? Like OKC was his perfect situation because it's all about him.
Yep.
Right? There's no pressure whatsoever.
Absolutely.
Right? So he can just kind of flourish and get all of his triple doubles. Like I remember
one man band.
Quotes that he had in the exit interview was like, well, I averaged a triple double last season and I didn't this season, so it was a failure. I'm like, you could just tell right there that's his mentality. Like, so you have to average that to have a successful season.
The stat pack.
You're not even thinking about the team that way. Like that's the dumbest thing I've heard from a pro athlete. Like he seems so trapped in his own mind that it's so detrimental to the rest of his career because he's gonna have to learn he's not the man anymore and he won't be ever again.
Not playing with other stars. You can't always be the face of the franchise when you're playing with the other stars. So it's I don't know that, and I think also too he has there's something, and I don't know Westbrook personally or anything, but just from the way I watch him on the basketball court playing basketball, it just seems as if he's hard and difficult to coach. From any other situation that I've seen him with in Houston, in Washington, in OKC, and now in LA, it just seems like his game has never, ever altered at all, regardless of the situation he's in. It's always been, like you said, let's get this triple-double, let's get these stats, rebounds, points, face of the franchise, from what I've seen.
Yeah, he's got a one-track mind. And everybody praises him for the effort and everything. Well, it's like stats. He doesn't play defense, and then that's where I think effort comes into it. Everybody can put up shots and have effort on offense, but if you're not doing it on defense, I got defense. I got no sympathy for you.
No, that's facts, man. Defense is typically all effort. Like there's obviously guys with good footwork, but it's effort. It's effort based. Like if you're not the best defender, if you try hard and play good try to give intensity and try your best on defense, you're most likely gonna get some sort of stops because you're attentive and you're aware and you're just trying. But if you don't try, you're not gonna you can't play good defense. So that kind of
I think the shame of the whole thing is he doesn't realize he has to adapt, and I don't even think he tries to adapt.
From what I see,
he hears all this noise coming in, and like you said, I mean, he must be super frustrating to coach. I mean, Frank Vogel, I'm sure, just was like somewhat relieved when he got fired. He's just like, I'm out.
It's crazy that you say that too, because that was actually like my next go-to, because with Vogel, they won a championship and they had the rough year and the year in the bubble, which was kind of weird. Some people count it, some people don't. But then the next season they catch an early exit against Phoenix, 2021 season, and then Westbrook, Melo get there and they have this terrible season. And, Vogel, he was obviously fired. But do you think like he was a scapegoat in that entire situation, regardless of all the drama that was going on?
Oh, yeah. I think.
Okay. I'm not crazy then.
No. Well, I think coaches in general are scapegoats. How many times do you see a coach last more than 3 years in a franchise? If they're not winning, there's exceptions, right? There's Greg Popovich, right? Like that guy's just not going to get fired.
Not at all. I think a couple guys like that. Only a couple. Steve Kerr.
Is always competitive, right?
Yep.
Steve Kerr, there's another one.
Yep.
There's very, very few. You could probably count them on one hand, right?
Yep, that's so true.
So coaches, I think they kind of know that once their voice has been tuned out, that they're done. And Vogel's definitely got tuned out because. But they put him in a situation which was so.
It was weird with that personnel. I don't think he should have got all the blame.
I
because
felt so bad for him because he's a defensive-minded coach,
yeah,
and you take all the best defenders and trade them,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
bring in a
literally
guy who
the
doesn't play
IQ guys
defense.
too. Yep, the
Yeah.
IQ guys too. Yep.
Well, like getting rid of or letting Caruso walk
Man,
and
hell of a defender. Rondo.
yeah,
Man.
just like I mean, and then CKCP,
Yep.
Kuzma, like it just didn't make
You lost all the intensity guys and the great, work hard role players. And you need those gritty guys. And I really thought Rondo was probably the biggest hit out of all those guys because Rondo has all other championship experience and he's just a great point guard overall. And I feel like, with LeBron trying to play off ball now, that's what he needs, a point guard with a good IQ and that understands the game just as well as him to kind of balance that out. And from what I've seen, it worked great with that, with having Rondo there.
Well, the funny thing is everybody loved him too. Everybody loved Rondo. Like Vogel thought he was like kind of a coach on the floor for him.
Yeah. You can tell, man.
Yeah, but it's just everything kind of just fell apart out of nowhere, and he was just left with this team that just had no direction, no heart whatsoever.
Man, yeah.
It was tough. And it reminded me of that the first Dwight season, and I think was it 2013?
Yeah, with Steve Nash. Oh man.
And
that season
everything
was
just collapsed.
That season was so crazy.
Was it Nash and Damian Lillard collided, right? Collided knees, and then it turned out that was a nerve in the knee that went to the back, and Nash was done after that, right?
Yep. And then Kobe was on and off hurt. Dwight
exhausting himself every single night, which was actually fun to watch, but the frustration level was
insane.
Yeah, and then Dwight just wasn't the same guy, and then I think Powell kind of was like, this sucks. And
that was tough, man.
It was the beginning of the end of that, but there was definitely similarities there. I was like, all these expectations, and they just can't do it, and the part of the team, the connectedness was gone. It's like it's a bunch of mercenaries.
Yeah, that was tough, man. And also, hey, is it true that the Lakers had a chance to get Kyle Lowry?
I think
yeah, I heard about that, but I didn't know if it was true because I didn't see a lot of sources. I always try and go to multiple sources before I even say something or throw something out there. I try and check with multiple sources, but I'm checking with you. You're my source.
Well, that's where I thought that the Beverly deal the other day was like, it was kind of like proof that things have really been screwed up, because I thought because I think what came down to the trade deadline that season, where it was, what was it, THT, and I can't remember who else was involved.
Was it Stanley Johnson? I know they traded Stanley Johnson for Pat Bev.
No, but I mean the one that they had with the Raptors, that's what they were going to do. And then their reluctance to get rid of THT was, I like THT, but at that point in time, Lowry was exactly what they needed, right?
Yeah, I agree. Because they needed.
Lowry's not the same guy now. Like it's not an apples to apples thing now, but it's like that's. I was like, so you had to trade THT and Stanley Johnson, who was pretty decent last year, right? For Pat Bev, who's 34. Like I mean, Pat Bev's got the team kind of.
Yeah, he got that dog in him.
It's like it's such a drop off. It's like,
it's a weird move, man. It is a weird. I like it for the Lakers though, because obviously they need that toughness and that competitiveness to get them kind of over the edge. But it's just kind of weird personnel wise, because it's not like Pat Bev is the best shooter. Obviously, he's there to play defense, but I mean, still, it's kind of hard to stack a team more and more without shooters, especially when you got LeBron there. So I don't know, man. I don't know how they gonna get this going. It's so weird to me.
The funny part, well, it's not funny, it's kind of sad, is they had the formula that worked in the bubble, right? They were playing defense, decent shooters, and then they just kind of go completely the other direction. and have never gone back that way. And it's like I mean, they should be. They're talking to the Pacers right now trying to get Buddy Hield over here, and then I mean the whole Miles Turner. I don't know, like because you already got Damian Jones and Thomas Bryant, but
I think the Buddy Hield move would probably be nice. They should have stretched and got DeRozan like before he went to what year? When was that where they was trying to get DeRozan? Was it? It was before Westbrook,
summer.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think it was DeRozan and Lauer they wanted to get.
That would have been crazy, man.
That would have been perfect.
And they would have been set up for the next couple of years, like even after LeBron decides he's gonna retire, whatever, like play with his kid. Like if LeBron goes, you still would have had Anthony Davis and DeMar DeRozan and possibly Kyle Lowry too. Like that would have set them up for some years, man.
Yeah, I mean just DeRozan and AD in general. I mean that's a good core. That's
absolutely.
Guys you can build around, but it's now you just don't really have anything to build around because you never know when LeBron's going to start to, drop off. I mean, everybody's like, oh, well, he's, immortal. He can still play high level, but he hasn't really been the same since he got to and won that first title. He's been hurt. He's been hurt every season, exception of one since every season ended with him having an injury, and they rule him out the rest of the year. That never happened.
It's kind of tough because, obviously from the play, he can still get you buckets, still control a game. But I think the biggest difference is probably him being able to carry like he once was, man. That people cannot expect him to be able to carry a full team for a full season and the playoffs in year 18, 19, like whatever year it is. Like, come on now. It's kind of crazy to be expecting that still for those who don't really see the decline. Like there's a decline, but it's not major or anything. It's just that it's slowly happening more and more where it's like, okay.
Well, that's where you got to question why they signed him for another 2 years. It's like, I understand that it's a financial move that had to be made, and they're going to make a ton of money from it. But in terms of basketball sense, I'm not quite sure if that is the smartest thing to do.
No, I think I would have pocketed that money.
You're hitching your wagon to a guy who's aging and clearly is a me first kind of guy in terms of what he wants to do with his career, right? Like he could. I mean, what happens when Bronny's available?
Yep.
And they refuse to do it,
And LeBron's gone because he already said he wants to go play with his kid. He said if that opportunity arises, he's going to go do it.
So, I just think it's it's not a weird move. I get the reasoning behind it, but at the same time, I'm like, you could be screwed for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
You could, because what AD is just not the same guy anymore.
Yeah, AD's lost his intensity ever since the bubble. I haven't seen that AD since the bubble, honestly.
Well, he can't stay healthy, man. He gets knocked on the floor more than any other player I've ever seen in my life. I can't. I mean, he's amazing when he's on his game. I mean, he is unstoppable, but he just gets hurt too damn much, and it's almost like you're like, oh, every time you see him fall or like his knee buckles or something, or somebody collides with him, you're just like, please don't be hurt.
Yeah. That's so true, man. That's so sad, but it's so true. I swear. Yeah. It's so sad.
I think the margin for error is so small now because you have an aging LeBron and a guy who just can't stay healthy in AD. So you're basically hoping everything goes right with no problems and all the guys around them are going to be good enough, which I don't think they are. Some of the moves they made, I'm like, how does that make this team better?
They're still old, man. They still got a lot of old guys on there. I know they didn't bring back Melo yet, but other than that, I know they still got. They still obviously LeBron, and I don't see much youth coming in from that team. Like last year, we know they were. I think they were the oldest team, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep, the oldest team in the league, and then losing a couple of those guys, Melo, Dwight Howard, and stuff. Like they didn't bring in any more youth to fill that void.
And
so
they just
it's just weird.
The youngest guy. They just traded PhD.
Yep. And he's actually pretty good too. He's a bucket. Like, I mean, he's for development wise and future wise, he's pretty good. So
he couldn't play on the floor at the same time as Westbrook. Those two just couldn't coexist.
Westbrook is tough to play with, man. I think that's kind of been a common theme over and over, is that people are starting to realize that Westbrook is more and more tough to play with. So I don't know, man. But look, we're going to take a quick break here, Ryan, and then we're going to jump back into it, jump into some more topics. We'll take a quick break and we will be right back.
Now, just because you're busy doesn't mean you got to be stressed. I'm crazy busy right there with you, but it can be easier. Next time you're on a run, just make it more fun and listen to The Run with Manny Wilson. It's The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
Now tuned into the greatest.
The Run, the Manny Wilson podcast.
The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson. I'm still here with my special guest, Ryan Ward, from the Los Angeles Lakers, Laker Nation, and Raiders Newswire. So that's what we got to touch on now. We talked about the Lakers a little bit, so let's go ahead and tap into the Raiders. Now, I know the Raiders, they got some new pieces. And I actually think they're a sleeper team this season because they got some new pieces there with Derek Carr, great backfield, great receiving core. And, I think they're going to possibly make something shake and do good. But the only thing that kind of concerns me is how difficult and how tough their conference is in the AFC, or their division, I should say, their division in the AFC. With you covering the Raiders, man, I just need a little bit of insight on that. Where do you think they'll end up landing in the AFC? Do you think they can actually take out some of these other competitive teams in the NFC or AFC?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're definitely built to win now.
Yeah.
Which is something I haven't been able to say about them for quite some time.
In a minute.
But, yeah, I think their offense is stacked. I mean, that's where it's all going to lean, right? They're just going to outscore people like crazy, I think. But the problem is on the defensive side. Well, I see on the offensive line is kind of a big question mark too, because Alex Leatherwood, the first round pick from last year, it seems like they're done with him because he's like a turnstile on the offensive line right now. So I think what was the rumor that came out yesterday saying like they're either going to cut him or trade him or cut him if they can't trade him, which is crazy because 1 year,
Man, it's a cold-blooded game in the NFL.
No, it's true. But I also was like, I remember the first thing I thought of when I saw that was, damn, John Gruden didn't do shit.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask about. I have a question about that because like he was fired obviously for like the emails and stuff, but man, he had 3 straight losing seasons, and like when he got fired, the team actually finally started winning and they got to the playoffs. So it's like, is the progression and the credit, does it go toward Gruden, or like who does that credit go to, or should it go somewhere else? Because
honestly, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say Mark Davis, but even that,
as long as you ain't say it goes to Gruden.
No.
I'm like he was bad for too long with the Raiders.
The guy couldn't draft on a team that needed to be really good in the draft, and then right when he got to Vegas, he traded Khalil Mack, which it was like it was dagger insane. To the heart of all Raiders fans. It's like
that was insane.
Yeah, like I couldn't believe it. I was like, how is that? And then Amari Cooper right after that. I'm like, okay,
insane.
Yeah, like. You take away Derek Carr's best target and his best friend on defense.
Yeah, like insane, man.
Carr is probably the one that deserves the most credit because he's
been sticking it through. He's been balling.
Taking all this crap, and he's gone through all 7 head coaches or something, and he's still going strong. And I think he'll probably have the best season of his career this year, especially with Devontae there now. And I mean, if you think about it, he helped turn Renfro and Waller into household names.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now they're kind of, I wouldn't call Renfro elite, but I would say Waller is definitely.
Okay. I can give you that. Now for Derek Carr too, because over the years, Derek Carr, obviously he hasn't had much help, but he's always like kind of showed the flashes of, I'm an elite quarterback in this league. Like he's a good quarterback. You can see those type of flashes. So is it safe to say like, okay, with Derek Carr, he's that guy to be a franchise quarterback for an organization? It's safe to say that, right?
Yeah, I think so. Because
Okay.
just imagine if he had good pieces around him right from the get-go.
Yeah, I kind of think his situation is like how it was for Matthew Stafford. Like, with Stafford, he's always been a good quarterback. Like even when he didn't get the notice for it when he was in Detroit, but he's always been a good quarterback. He showed those flashes. He just didn't have the pieces to like highlight anything that he was doing. And for Derek Carr, I kind of find it in a similar thing, because he's been a good quarterback. It's just he can't always get the wins because of his situation. And now that he has the help, it's going to be highlighted.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent comp, actually, because thinking about it now, I'm like, the Lions are the Ravens of the NFC.
Pretty much. But they've never won anything, though. That's it.
Well, it's like they had the talent, right? Or at least they had two guys you could really build around with Megatron and Stafford, right? And then
absolutely,
they just never did it. I mean, to the point where Calvin Johnson was like, I'm out.
I'll retire before I kill myself for this team.
Yeah.
That was exactly what it was.
He was even linked to the Raiders at one point. He was showing up at Raider practices and stuff. Wow. I was like, well, that's kind of crazy. But yeah. And then you see what Stafford does immediately on a good team.
Balls
so I
out,
think,
man.
I think Carr is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And this will be it. Like if he fails to live up to the hype this year, I think people will really throw him under the bus. But if he goes the other way, I mean, he could be like a sleeper candidate for MVP, I think.
Yeah, it's still kind of tough though, man, because especially with the NFL, because man, it's one season. Teams are only good for so long. It's rare that a team can be good for consecutive years, and like with like what we see with Tom Brady, he really makes that shit look easy. Like taking the team back to the Super Bowl over and over, like that is not common, and he makes it look so easy because of like what he's been doing in the past, and like we see it year after year. So it's difficult for these other teams when they get there once and then to try and go back again. It's tough, man. I don't see that too often.
The biggest difference with Brady is he had really good coaching, right?
Yeah.
Really good coaching and an organization that was like on it. Like they just knew what they were doing. They made smart moves, even though Belichick can't draft for shit, really. Like he's a lot like Gruden that way. But still it didn't matter. It didn't matter. They always made the right moves. Like in free agency, they never spent too much money.
Yeah. Trades, made good trades, got the right pieces there.
And all those titles is a result of that. I mean, like Brady's amazing. I think he's the greatest player ever, but
same. Yep. I can agree with you on that easily.
But he did get lucky in terms of
the teams,
where he ended up and who was coaching him, and hopefully Daniels helps turn Carr into that. Like that
I think it's a little bit of both, though. I think it definitely, obviously, the situation is everything, because he wouldn't have been there, if he didn't start off with the Patriots and, get the learning experience and see how to win and all of that. But, obviously they helped him in his development. But I think it's definitely just, multiple things of him as a player and also, the team there, because they got a good defense to help them out. They got good players to help them out. So those things definitely come into play. But it's I just don't like when people say, and not that you said this or anything, this is a little bit kind of sidetrack, but I just don't like when people say, oh yeah, Tom Brady, he couldn't do anything before Belichick, or he wasn't that guy before Belichick. And it's like, I don't know. Like,
you already proved that wrong.
Yeah, I'm like, what we see from Tom Brady, it's clear that like he's just that guy. It's just that clear. So But that's a different note. That's a different note. To kind of focus right back to where we were about the Raiders. I read that this was the first time in history in the preseason that they were undefeated. Is this like gonna channel anything? What do you think is going on? Like at least with the Raider fans and Raider Nation, like how do you think these guys are feeling right now in terms of that? And then what's the reality of the real standard of what they may achieve for this upcoming season? Yeah, and I hope that makes sense.
I think it'll be a lot like last season. I think they're definitely, they're going to have their ups and downs, but I think they'll make the playoffs.
They definitely will this year.
That they're in a juggernaut of a division.
That division is stacked, man.
I don't think I've ever seen a division like that before.
It's at an all-time high. That comp is at an all-time high, man. The Broncos, Chiefs, like the Raiders, like it's nowhere to get caught lacking. It's crazy.
But then again, this is always the way it is before an NFL season. I mean, I think the NFL is among probably the most unpredictable leagues, right? Like every year a different champion can be crowned.
Literally. Yep.
I mean, look at the Bengals going to the Super Bowl last year. Like who the hell predicted?
I definitely didn't. I was betting against them each time they won another game, and I got friends and stuff. They're like, "No, Joe Burrow is him." I'm like, "No, Joe Burrow is his first year. He's not doing. He's not."
When they beat the Chiefs, I was just
man,
like, "Oh my God, what is going on?"
I know. I'm like, man, the Bills been trying to beat the Chiefs forever, and they ain't been able to do it. I'm like,
that was the real Super Bowl. That was the real.
That was a great game. It was crazy. It's weird now that they changed the rule for that. So it's gonna be so interesting to kind of see how this plays out now that they have that rule change with overtime also. So I don't know. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, that's another thing with the NFL. They always, if people start barking a lot after a season, then they just immediately change the rule.
No resistance at all.
Yeah, like they just like, oh well, I guess we got to change this. It's like whatever. I mean,
I don't know, man.
Or not, but I could easily see like people being like, oh, we should change it back after something doesn't go their way to their favorite team. All it takes. Yeah, exactly.
Yep, that's all it takes, man. So yeah.
Because I mean, I do think the Bills kind of outplayed them, but KC still deserved to win. It's a weird situation, I don't know. Then KC definitely got theirs the next game. That's for sure.
They got to hand it to him. It was crazy. But also too, so another thing here, I kind of wanted to just ask about the relationship with Devontae Adams and Derek Carr. Like I know they were always like close friends. It was the same college they went to, right? They both went to.
It was Fresno State.
Okay, yep, that's what I thought. Is that relationship like, still very healthy? Is it still one of those relationships where it's like, oh, I'm back with my guy, we can ball out kind of the same way, or is it any difference from what it was?
It was before all the trade, the trade went down and all that and everything changed. There was a lot of rumors flying around for a while, that they wanted to play together again. But it was one of those things where you're like, sure you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll happen.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, like Adams really wants to leave Aaron Rodgers. Like,
man, I still can't believe it. I still can't believe he left Aaron Rodgers, man.
I was amazed because it's funny when you
it.
covered two sports and two teams that are so different, like the Lakers and the Raiders. Like Lakers just known to be attached to big name players all the time, regardless. Like I said earlier, right? And then the Raiders are attached to those players, but you never believe they could ever land them in any situation. Right?
Yeah, the Lakers are. I don't know, man. It's so weird because like with the Lakers, I think they're such a spoiled fan base, man. And I have a love-hate relationship with the Lakers because I loved Kobe, but it's just the fans, man. I'm like, they're so spoiled, winning all these championships, and it's like as soon as they have one bad year, it's like, oh, everything needs to change, and it's like it's okay not to win a championship one year, like it's okay. So
that's the thing. I mean, as I've gotten older, I've seen all this, and then because I started before social media really took off, and then when it started to take off, I saw everything kind of changing a little bit. Fan stands for fanatic, right?
Yeah.
really a good thing. It's not really a good like something to be labeled, right?
Yeah,
you think that kind of person's a little bit off some way, right? Like a little bit too much.
I accept it all, man. I always say the Lakers are like the Cowboys fans. Lakers are the Cowboys fans of the NBA.
For sure.
But the Lakers actually won something. Cowboys haven't won shit. So I don't respect them.
The thing is, they're not reasonable. They don't think logically.
Rationally.
They don't
at all.
Very passionate, but it blinds logic, right?
Yeah, that's so weird.
Passion's always a good thing. But
when you want to be passionate.
Of blocking like logic, like I couldn't believe people were talking themselves into Westbrook last year. I had coworkers that were talking themselves into it, and I was the only one that said this is not gonna work.
Yeah, I was there with you from a distance. Huh? I said I was there with you from a distance. I was saying the same thing. I was on here preaching. I'm like, I don't know how.
It was so obvious to me. I was like, why can't you just look at this like from a basketball standpoint and say this is not gonna work?
Man,
like, it's obvious. It was right there in front of you. You know, and then it, kind of like a month went by and they were just like, oh well. It's gonna turn around. And I'm like, nope.
And then you had LeBron hyping it up, talking about keep talking or with the tweets and stuff.
That's one thing about LeBron I can't stand. It's like,
the hype.
Dude, just shut up. Just throw it on the floor, man. Because I think too many times LeBron wants to be that Jordan type or the Kobe type or the Magic type, like that talk a big game and then can back it up, right?
Yeah,
but he gets burned too many times.
It's like, not him.
It's like, you're not helping at all. You're putting added pressure in a situation where you can't really win.
Yeah, he just got literally though, because he's done it especially in Los Angeles. Look, and I'll say this and then we'll wrap up because we're at our time. But I'll say this and then we'll wrap up. But especially ever since he's got to Los Angeles, I've seen it the most than I've seen out of his entire career. Because when he first got there, if you recall, I'm activating playoff mode. We're going to get to the playoff mode. We're going to get to the playoffs. And then they went like 3-12 from him activating playoff mode. And then after that, you had him talking about this is the year. Like, this was unacceptable. What happened in LA? And boom, similar situation. Nothing got better after the All-Star break. It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of talking. And I got some Bron fans on here, so I got to troll just a little bit. It's a lot of talking. But y'all, Bron ain't getting it done, man. I'm sorry. He's just not getting it done like he should be for the way that he's talking.
Just don't talk.
Yeah, just don't talk. And we won't be mad at you.
Thing in the playoffs before, like the 0 dark 30 thing or whatever, he just shuts everything down.
Yeah.
Do that.
Like, come on, man.
Do that until you start winning again.
Yeah.
Like, don't bring the same energy. Like, I was like, dude.
Come on now.
Stop. It's just gonna make this worse.
Yeah,
like deleting tweets and stuff that are like strong statements. It's like
that
looks so bad.
Yeah, it's terrible, man. It's terrible, man. So I don't know, man. But look, man. Hey, Ryan, is there anything else, man? You just want to lead the people with last statements before we close out here that you just want to lead the listeners with, man?
I don't know, man. I think I pretty much said it.
That's okay. I mean, you got it all off your chest. That's good. But anyway, man, go ahead, throw the social medias out there. Let people know where they can find you. Get the free promo right now, man. Go ahead, drop all of that stuff off.
Well, you can follow me pretty much on anything. Instagram is the main one I got. TikTok, reluctantly, but TikTok's all right, I guess. And then Twitter is probably where people know me most. At Ryan Ward LA, and it's the same for all of them. I've even got a YouTube and Facebook, but I don't really update those too much because I haven't really been to a lot of games lately. So hopefully that'll ramp up this year. And then hopefully we got actually stuff, positive to say on all these platforms.
Yeah, well, hey, trust me, I promise you, I will be here to hold the Lakers accountable. I got plenty of Laker fans in my life, so I never hesitate to hold them accountable or anybody else in the league that's doing a crazy job. So I'll keep my word to it. But anyway, man, hey, you guys know where you can find me, man. Follow us on Instagram at The Run Podcast and follow my personal page as well at I am Manny Wilson. But anyway, man, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed the interview. Be sure to follow my guy, Ryan Ward, as well. And from then, we will be back later on this week, and so on and so on and so on.